Hey, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Thank you for returning to my little corner on the internet. Um, so last week we were talking about the healing wisdom of Africa, and as I finished the podcast, I realized 20 minutes is not enough. So put I made a setup and I explained a little bit about the front, like the beginning of this book, and the gift that we get at the end of this book. And now I was actually going a little bit more into all of the details I can remember, because they literally are deeply integrated into me and just like living rent free in my head and are a part of my drive in this life. So I was explaining how the giving of names happens within the Dagara people, and the marvelousness of Mali Doma's, like, that basically when they are called to their attention by their community, they're reminded of their purpose every single time, like their agreement that they made with the celestial realm, why they're here on earth, so that they can continue to live out that purpose, consistently reminded of that. Because when we integrate into this world, when we come down and when we integrate or incarnate, we have what's the word? It's not insomnia, amnesia. We don't remember. There's a gift in that, because actually we do, but we need to go through a little bit of a few cycles. I think when you're really integrated with your internal self and are able to listen to your intuition and to the joys, and like are allowed to follow that, live within a system that is welcoming of that, you will remember. There are all kinds of ways to remember, but they have integrated. I like saying the word integrated for some reason a lot right now, but they have cultivated a way of life where they continue to do that for each other. So instead of you sitting on your own, diving in deep, what is my purpose in this world? Your family already knows your purpose in this world and tries to help you attain that and maintain that. And obviously in the end, it's your responsibility, it was your choice, it's your soul. So no one can tell you how to do that. But knowing is a huge step forward, right? And so that practice of sitting still with yourself and listening and not integrating, that's not the word I'm going to use again. We understand their how-tos, right? Because there is no script to life and there is no manual to life. There are things that we learn, there are things that are universal, and grace the Lord, praises be to the people who are centered in this world and who are aligned with love, because they maintain the ability to learn that, like those esoteric, quote unquote esoteric knowledges, or like just basic rules to life, like everything that lives must die, like things like that, you know what I mean? Like these things that we all know that we just need to accept because we're a material form. But yeah, the people who teach us that with love, thank you so much for that. It's appreciated. So as I was also explaining something about the council, what the Nagare people gifted me in this book is indescribable. They validated the spiritual realm in a way that I've never been exposed to before. And now that I'm further into my diving of the spiritual knowledges and all of that, it's hard to not believe it anymore or to negate that, and I might like lose a lot of people right now as I'm talking about this, but this is for all the people who are curious and are with me, so welcome. So like I will talk a little bit more about side quests. So it's Ramadan right now. the holy month of fasting and piety and deepening the faith of Islam for Muslims. And this is my third time joining. And I found this YouTube account called Yakin, or yeah, I think it's just called Yakin. And there's a doctor there. His name is Dr. Omar Suleiman. I'm sorry, I'm not that familiar with him yet, but he has this YouTube series he does apparently every Ramadan. This is the first time I'm exposed to it, but he's talking about the other side and about the ancestral realm and the spiritual realm and what happens after death, and we call it the barzakh. That's about how far my knowledge is stretched right now. If that strikes any curiosity, you can go find it, because I just gave you all the details. But before I witnessed this and could accept that kind of knowledge, this was my gateway, because the Dagara people, there is no question. There is no question. And because they don't have a question, I get to actually relax into that. There's something about stability and sureness that is so safe, right? Sometimes it can be really frustrating, but it's also a moment to land when you have solid structures. And one of their their pillars of their way of life is understanding and accepting and communing with the spiritual realm. So it's as normal as brushing your teeth, understanding that your ancestors are working for you in another realm that is not this physical realm, and that there is actually an integral and inherent connection between these realms. And so honoring the ancestors is a huge, huge aspect of the Dagara people and their way of life. And I think that's fantastic, because I had trouble with this. I felt energies around me. I didn't know what to do with it. I would get uncomfortable. It was a year before reading this book, I was meditating every morning, and I was doing things that I don't want to mention right now in the evenings. And so I would center myself and connect to some divine essence that I now call God, but back then I didn't want to do that. So we have our journeys, right? But then in the evenings I didn't. And then at some point I was like, okay, I became aware of that. And I was like, okay, something needs to change. So I tried to meditate in the evening, and I got so overwhelmed with fear and that feeling of being watched and that feeling of being unsafe. And I sobbed my eyes out. And I had a partner back then, and we had actually agreed to just take a few days away from each other. But I didn't know how to handle it. And I was like, can you please hold me? And they were like, of course. This is not I know we agreed to this, but honey, you're terrified right now. So let me hold you, right? So, yeah. And then I was like, I really need to learn how to handle this situation, because right now I don't know how to handle any of this. And then a year later, this book appeared into my life, and it gave me the tools. It gave me validation of this realm, so I wasn't making it up. That's one thing. And secondly, the ability to say yes and no to those moments. So to say, no, you don't get a moment here right now. And also that in the end, I'm in control as well. Those were huge gifts. And next to that, it also inspired me to start honoring my ancestors on my altar. And this is where things shift, because obviously the ancestral realm is a huge part of their, I keep saying the thing, you already get it, Um, yeah, so in my practice and on my altar, I would mention my ancestors and their names and the gratitude. And then there's a little side quest again about the fact that I never knew any of my grandparents except for my grandfather on my mother's side, and I didn't have a strong bond with him either because we don't live close to each other, and he's no longer with us anyway. Like Allah yarhamu. Um, but yeah, so from my dad's side, my Egyptian grandparents, they both passed, Allah yarhamu, around about the time I was 1 to 2 years old. So they've seen me as a baby, but I can't remember them, right? And my mother's mother passed away, Allah yarhamu, when my mother was very young, actually, when my mother was in the beginning of her 20s. So like I was not even close to being incarnated into this world yet. Um, and so I decided to honor them on my altar, and about 3 weeks into that practice, my brain went like, honey, that's so beautiful. You've traveled to different spiritualities and cultures through the books, not physically. Um, and you've been so curious and you've learned a lot, and that's so exciting. But do you remember you come from such a rich culture? And and come back, come and learn from us. And this was my first step back into, okay, let me see what Islam is about. Maybe that Western indoctrination that I got, and that yeah, long story short, that Western indoctrination that I got messed with seeing it as it is, because I started validating spirituality way more and sort of these esoteric knowledges. And I think Islam in a lot of ways inherently embodies that. And my true belief is that every faith, when you come down to its core, embodies that. It embodies the understanding and the willingness and the devotion to life, to understanding that life is a gift and that life is a responsibility, and that life is not the only thing, like that this life is not the only thing that matters. This specific individual life that I'm living is not the only thing that matters, that it's integrated into a greater whole. And how do we perceive the greater whole, and how do we find ourselves in the greater whole, and how do we serve that greater whole? And that's where different spiritualities differ in how to do that, but the intention is similar. And I think that should inspire, for me it does, and I hope I can inspire you, that it should inspire us to learn from each other and to respect each other and to understand that there's a million ways to roam, and that the most important thing is that I'm treating you like a human being, like a sacred divine gift that the creator, the benevolent creator, gave us, and that in our contact we get to meet God if we work together and if we respect each other. Like all of these things, I could ramble about that. I don't think that's this video necessarily, so I will stop. But yeah, so that is what this book has done for me, or at least definitely an ingredient into that way of looking at life, that way of looking at cultures, that way of looking at spirituality. They also have another practice. They have a few practices, and I would like to mention one or two more. One is that is a small thing, and actually, when you go back into your own memory bank, you're realizing, okay, we actually do that as well out here in the West, and it's bringing water into difficult conversations. So what they do is, like, when they need to clear up an argument, what they do is they bring water and they center it into that situation, because water has, according to the Dagara people, a value of calmness and of purifying, right? And this is not the only culture who thinks that. So there's a universal truth of that value of water, and they use it to then clear out and sort of level the playing field of I want to say negotiations, but not necessarily always what I mean. It's like that moment of conflict resolution. The only thing that they don't do, what we do, is they don't drink the water. So we are like, when we're gonna have a difficult conversation. I don't know if I said difficult fully, like articulated that. So I'm saying it again. When we are about to have a difficult conversation, we usually ask like, "Do you want something to drink? Or should we have a cup of tea?" And to kind of break the ice and to kind of break the uncomfortability. Because that's what water does. It calms us. It nourishes us. It something about it, right? Maybe I'll do a whole video about water and how valuable water really is. That could be the next one. Life process right here, you guys. Life process. You know how it goes. Yeah. So we do that as well, but we drink the water where they like, okay, the water has now taken this energy and we pour it back into the earth and then it's done and it integrates and it grows and it's going to give new life, right? And they don't really, that part of like, okay, what grows from all of that water is not something that necessarily has to do anything with the conflict, but you get the point. And I think that's marvelous, and maybe you can try that one. That one is quite simple. They also have another practice which is so cool. This will be the last one that I share because we're at the last 3 minutes again. It's with the mineral realm. So in modern Western spirituality, I don't know what way to explain this, but crystals is a huge thing, right? Like I'm wearing crystals right now. I'm wearing 2 lapis lazulis. So if you're wondering how she yapping so much, because I'm wearing these crystals, and I'm wearing rose quartz on my hand. These crystals have a specific value, and they have a type of frequency and vibration about them that relates to our frequency and vibration, and therefore they enhance and invite different essences or awaken different parts of our natural abilities and our natural energy that we are not related to, that we can access. And that's a whole thing to not be able to explain in 2 minutes. But the Nagara people skip the whole sort of crystal gemstone vibe. They just sit with solid rocks, these old rocks. And it's not from this book. Maybe he mentions it again, but or as well. But I learned this actually somewhere else. Some spiritual cultures or belief systems, they consider the stones to be like material ancestors because they've been here so long. And so these minerals, they hold wisdom. And so a thing that they do is they just sit there and listen to the mineral. They just sit with the mineral, with the stone, and they just lay it on their body or just hold it, and then they meditate with that and they listen. And this can take hours. And I tried it once or twice, and my. I went to these Neolithic structures. We call them hunnebedden. Stonehenge is a very famous example of that, but we have some in the Netherlands. They look very different. And they're actually, like, we can just touch them. They're very accessible in the Netherlands. You don't even have to pay an entrance fee or anything. And I went there and I sat there for about 2 hours and I just tried to listen to the stone. And I cannot tell you what happened, but I want to gift it to you. So if you're interested, just like pick up a rock, go to a hunebed, whatever, pick something that you think is interesting, and just spend about like 2, 3, 4 hours of your life just listening. Let all of it fall away and try to connect to that that thing, that stone, that rock, and just let it tell you things. Because you cannot write that. And you could say, "Oh, I swore again. I'm so sorry." And you could say that that you're making it up, or that's just you talking. You could say that, but the experience is still valuable. So that's where I want to leave it at. I guess the next episode will be me yapping about how much I love water, the fact that I'm a Cancer, and yet, etc., etc., etc. And maybe I'm gonna prepare, maybe I'm not. Who knows? We'll see. Thank you so much for tuning in to this new episode of YAM that is actually over now. Bless the sun for gracing it in my face. I hope I didn't frown too much. And thank you so much for listening. And if you have anything to say, anything to ask, if you have a topic for me, all in the essence of love and respect, then you're most welcome to comment. If you don't have anything nice to say, y'all, just don't, just move on with your life. That's all. Hit the like button and give me a subscription or subscribe, that sort of thing. That's what YouTubers do. And then I hope to see you in the next one. Mwah. Much love. Bye bye.